Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And we are recording.
You. What's going on?
Not too much, man. How are you?
Good.
All right. Well, we have a little pre-warm up here, getting ready for this, and I think now we're ready to rock and roll. So
yeah, definitely.
let's talk about what you got going on, who you are, and all of that fun stuff.
All right, sounds good. So I'm Ricardo Zulueta, founder of Fukitt Clothing. Just to know,
that's Fukitt, not Fukitt.
Right. So just a background on it. So what we're trying to do is inspire people to live life more, because even though everyone already knows, right, to live life to the fullest, it's just fucking impossible, man. It's human nature to take life for granted. That's why we complain on Mondays, traffic, weather, stuff like that. No one's actually immune to it. So what you really need is just like a reminder. The best and worst reminder is probably someone passing away. You tend to appreciate life more all of a sudden, not because someone told you to, you just got reminded to. Because everyone knows the concept of living life to the fullest already. So in any case, so that's what the brand does. We're hoping that it helps remind you more often. Every time you wear it, every time you see it, just tells you like, yo, stop fucking complaining, live life a little bit more. So that's the reason we support suicide prevention awareness. I lost my brother to suicide. So one of the biggest things that I learned was that when people get suicidal, it's not necessarily because their situation sucks, it's because their perspective does. It's the same exact reasons like rock stars commit suicide while the homeless people are trying to stay alive. It doesn't make any sense. It's really their perspective that's off. So the way I'm trying to fix that is with the brand itself, because even though it is pronounced Fukitt, it actually reminds you and persuades you to say fuck it more. But what's the benefit in that? It's because all of us are already exposed to motivational messages every day. If you go on Facebook, how many freaking quotes do you see? You go on Instagram, inspirational videos left and right. So if that's the case, then why isn't it working? Because all of the motivational stuff they're basically useless and meaningless unless or until you make a decision about something. Nothing changes without a decision, right? So that's kind of what you need to, it has to be entailed for any motivational messages to be meaningful. And what people don't know is that the only time, and it's not sometimes, the only time we ever say the phrase fuck it is only until after we've already made a decision. That's a different story, because the reason we say it is a confirmation that we're actually gonna follow through and commit to it. We don't back out after we say it. The only reason you even said it is that you're already committed. And that is how you quit the job you hate. That's how you go on vacation. That's how you ended up getting tattoos. So the more, once you decide, everything tends to follow. And when you don't, nothing really happens.
So it's not like fuck it doesn't matter. You're saying fuck it to the things that are holding you back, to the decisions that you want to make, but you don't have the courage or the ability to, or you don't think you have the ability at said time. So what your message is just like, fuck it, let's just go for it. Go.
Yeah, it's really not necessarily even just go for it. It's just make a decision. Right? They always say even not making a decision is a decision, because people are getting in limbo, right? People aren't unhappy because they don't know what to do. A lot of them know exactly what they want to do. They just won't make a decision.
Right.
Well, like I always wanted to go to Italy. Well, what's stopping you? The biggest example I tell people, like, you know how people always say there's no time or money? And all of a sudden a bachelor party comes up or a bachelorette party comes up. First question is, when is it? Well, why the fuck do you care when it is? I thought you don't have time. I'm going to make time because that's my boy. Well, you don't have money though. Oh, I'll make the money by then. If you did that for your vacations and say, you know what, I'm going to go to Italy. It may take 2 years, but once you decide that, all the shit automatically happens. Just like starting a business, right?
No, I agree. I agree completely. It's funny you bring up Italy, because me and some friends years ago were like, let's go to Europe, because I'd already been over a couple of times and I was always going solo. And I got with 4 friends and we said, all we got to do to make this happen is save it was something like $50 a week. It was nothing. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
6 months out, let's buy our tickets. And then 4 months out, let's get our hotel rooms, and then et cetera, just keep going down the line.
Right.
And that's what I did. So 6 months out, you buy your ticket, a few $100s.
Yeah.
You look at a vacation, you're like, oh, it's going to be like $4,000. No,
yeah.
is 400 and 400 and 400 and 400. You can get $400, you can get $200. So I bought my ticket 6 months out, and it got closer and closer. And sure as shit, none of them saved anything. They didn't do anything. The only 1 out of 4 of the guys went. And the only reason he was able to go is his parents loaned him the money right before it. So we went, and it was great. And he was like, oh man, I really should have done this all along. I don't think he's left the country since, but you know, that's a great point. It's like, just take the steps. Like, business. It's not like tomorrow, okay, I'm going to have a company and there's going to be employees and we're going to have sales. You got to start one step and get there.
Right. And a lot of it just starts with a decision, because they just wanted to go to Italy, but they didn't make a decision to go. There's a big difference.
Yep.
You know? Because once you make a decision, you do the proper things. It's like all of a sudden you don't go to the freaking bachelor party. All of a sudden you don't make it to the wedding. The day of, that would never happen. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Well, I could see getting out of weddings because they're terrible. I have to go to one this weekend for like one of my best friends, but like, she knows how I feel about weddings, and I'm just like, oh my God. I hope I don't have to go to my own wedding, much less go to.
You're going to be late.
No, I'm just going to like send a stand-in or something. I'm hoping to do it via video conference.
You're already at the honeymoon.
Yeah, I'll just be at the hotel. I'll just see you there.
Good, babe. Babe,
yeah. You have like a checkbox I can just like sign here, and then I can go.
You're going to send a video.
I'm going to do it like this. We're going to do it on the podcast. Like,
I do, babe. I
do. That. And then we're just out. We're going to live stream it and just make it happen. That's what I think. That's
right. Weather's great over here, babe.
Exactly. I don't know why we wouldn't do that, but whatever.
You'll be the first virtual wedding, dude.
No, not first. They do it a lot.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's really funny.
All right, missed the boat.
Yeah. So I met you in the tattoo expo scene. When I was just doing the booth as Steadfast and Inked. And we met, and you just had, I just really dug it. You had a cool vibe. I like the way the thing read. Like I said, I'm rocking this one. He didn't.
Yeah, I know. Thanks, dude.
I've had this one for a while. And then when talking to you, like, I really enjoyed the message, because it is kind of a throw off. At first, you don't know exactly what it is. And then you get it, and you're like, oh, man, that's really cool. So it's a positive message delivered in this kind of way. If you don't mind me going back a little bit, just because it's super relevant right now. Two things you said that were really interesting were, one, that you lost your brother to suicide, and that's a very real thing that we're going through right now. So I'd like to possibly circle back around to that. Yeah. And also a really good statement that you made was, rock stars kill themselves while homeless are trying to survive. Yeah. And it's all based on perspective. And I agree with that 100%. Perception is reality. Whatever you think you're in the middle of is what you have. And I think that one of the things that's very disenfranchising to people with the rock star situation, or the very wealthy and the seemingly accomplished, is when you find out that all of those things you chase don't provide happiness. And I'm not one to believe that money doesn't equal happiness. Happiness equals happiness. Some people have money, some people don't. And there's I don't know if you've seen those studies where they show that when they scale people's happiness in the world, there is a huge difference between the ultra poor and the sustained, right? Definitely. So having nothing to having 5,000 to 25,000 per year, 50,000, whatever it is a massive difference in happiness. Yeah. If you're absolutely impoverished, it's kind of hard to be happy, because you're just fighting for every moment. But once you reach a certain level, there's actually no higher measure of happiness after a certain point. That's right. I get after all of your needs are met, and you have you have a way to move around, you have a roof over your head, you have food, you have a way to pay your utilities. There is a range in there where people are happier than those who do not. But above and beyond that, there's no difference. It's just different cars and different houses and different things, but it doesn't equate to any higher level of happiness. Right.
Which is like what Maslow talks about, right? The hierarchy of needs. You get the security, you get the shelter, all that stuff. And then the very end is self-actualization. And, everyone tries to make themselves a better person. And when they don't, that's when we get really depressed. So like you're saying, once you're at the top, it's like, well, how much more does it get better to reach self-actualization?
Right.
So yeah, it becomes harder and harder.
And then you get more thrown off by that if you've
yeah,
accomplished this success, the measures of success, and you're not happy, then you kind of become hopeless
and it gets
because
lonelier.
nobody taught you how to be happy.
Yeah,
Everybody just taught you how to gain and acquire, etc.
yeah,
So again, I'm not the type to say, oh, just be poor and happy. I don't believe that. I think
right.
you
No,
strive for success and security, but definitely don't think that though that and happiness equal each other.
yeah, exactly. Like actually, a lot of people don't really notice, but my wife Kristen, she came from that right before she met me. I mean, she had the yachts, the Lamborghinis, the whole thing, and she left all that. A lot of people that say, "Oh, money doesn't buy everything," but it's hard to believe them because, like, well, you never tasted it, dude.
Yeah.
So when it's coming from her, it's like, what she says is like, money doesn't buy you happiness, but it can get you expensive misery. So I'm like, wow, that's actually a bold statement. And one of the things that she said, we actually went to Italy. I guess that's why I keep saying that. When we were there, she was like, you know what? I may be struggling, compared to the way she had it, but she's not suffering.
Right.
That's a big thing to say. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool. So,
Right.
But that mindset, and it's all about perspective. Always. It always comes down to perspective, because there's people, especially social media, fucks us all up. Because by comparing with other people, even though you're happy already, and then you compare yourself like, fuck, I don't have that car. Damn, I don't have that house. And all of a sudden you're like, dude, you're happy. What are you doing? Yeah, why are you making yourself miserable, dude?
I don't think that falls on social media. I mean, you could trace that back to MTV Cribs.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And you could trade that back to Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous with Robin Leach.
Yeah.
We've
Sure.
always been obsessed with that.
But it's more, this is closer to, those are like rock stars and rich people. Now you're seeing friends and families and going, whoa, they are so happy and I'm not, So it's
How do you mean?
It's when it's closer people though.
How do you mean?
Like if it's your friends killing it and you're seeing it and watching it. And,
But wouldn't you know that your friends were doing good, whether or not you're on social media?
oh, totally. But that's what I mean. It's the comparison, right? Like when I talk to people, I'm like, don't care so much about how people see you because I'm pretty sure you don't really care how you see them. Like you're still your boy, even though he's a garbage guy. Like he's still your boy though. Or one guy's working as a waiter. He's a bartender. Like you don't care. Why do you care so much about what people think of you? But it does affect you. Like I had to go through that, like seeing friends because I went from a financial analyst to this, so it kind of made me feel like, man, should I have stayed? All friends are being VP of this now and this of this company. And I'm like, wow. So, but by comparing myself, all of a sudden I'm making myself feel a little bit less, but only because what I do for a living, it's kind of helped me like be aware of it. Mm-hmm. It helped me out, but I can see that everyone falling into that trap.
Well, I just, the only reason I brought that up was not about the statement of comparison. It was, I believe, Roosevelt that said comparison is the thief of joy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's Roosevelt. That was way before there was social media.
All right,
so,
right.
Like,
that's true.
I don't equate the two. I think that the same kind of thing that people say about the social media is exactly what people say about television, and they said about radio, and they said about. I mean, they literally said radio was going to make people mindless drones and whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that comparison is comparison, whether you're writing it
whether or not, right,
or whatever.
Right.
So I'm not quick to jump on that, especially something I choose to use every day. And for me, bridges huge gaps. Just like money isn't the root of all evil, evil is the root of all evil.
Yeah.
Money is just a tool. And same thing with social media, et cetera. Because I know for me, being linked into all of the scientists and the podcasts and the journalists and the writers and the thinkers through social media has opened up my world. I knew jack shit about space and science and stuff like that. Just basically all I had learned was in school. And then when I got out, it was like, pick up a Reader's Digest or something like, National Geographic or something like that. But it was, I didn't have the access that I have now. So
right. It was just, the point was just like, it's another medium for comparison, except it's
you can use it that way. Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. But I think that the comparison lives within the self first, right? The dissatisfaction of self. and then looking for something to compare it to. And I think that can happen driving down the road and seeing cars. You know, we were just at the Hell City Expo in Phoenix, and you know, the Biltmore is no joke. Like that's no joke. And that drive up to the Biltmore is insane, because those houses that are on that road are fucking sick.
Massive.
Yeah. So if you want to get like, you know, if you want a comparison, you know, when you're driving, you see that one up on the top left, that one on the hill. Like overlooks it all.
You're like, damn.
That shit right there. I mean, you can compare that. You know what I mean? You
right.
do that. So I think it's a double-edged sword. I think that in life, just like everything else, you use things for good or you use things poorly. You know what I mean? True. And whether that's, you know, anything from guns to cars to money to whatever, there's two ways whoever you are, expresses yourself through those tools.
Because it could either be a motivational thing to reach those houses or to compare yourself and go, I don't have that house.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or when I was a piece of shit kid, I was like, oh, I could totally vandalize that house. Damn you, Brad.
I knew it.
But now, you know, I don't. So good for them.
If I can't have it, no one will.
yeah. But so that was the one, man. I really like that statement that, you know, reflecting on the idea, because, you know, we've lost a lot of important people. And I just recently did a little quick, like a 9-minute kind of like self rant where I was talking about, you know, bashing addicts, and because of your own experience, whether you lost somebody to it or or whether you had a bad experience with yourself or you just don't understand something, there's nothing to be gained by putting out negative energy and by attacking people that are suffering. Regardless of your inability to understand it or empathize or whatever. However it harmed you, because there's no way somebody can openly bash and criticize an affliction that somebody has unless it hurt them, unless they saw somebody that they loved get hurt or somebody hurt them personally. There had to be a reason that they're attacking that. But what's really important to me right now, like with talking to you and other people that are trying to do something more productive, is not contributing to the environment of this negativity. We have enough of it coming in our political environment and social environments. So that brings us, you know, that was a really awesome point you made. And that brings us back to your original motivation was your brother.
Well, with the addiction, right? I actually had this, you know, someone posted something like addiction is not a disease and all that. You know, people are going back and forth, going back and forth. And I'm just like, all right, first of all, I don't even know what you've got to gain when one of you wins. It's a disease. Great. Now what? Oh, it's not a disease. Great. Well, now what? You guys just got pissed off at each other for no reason. So one of the things I always recommend people is that always remedy the result. Always remedy the cause, not the result. Because all you guys are bashing are the results of the addiction. It doesn't even matter. Why don't you concentrate on the cause of addiction? And more of you would actually agree.
Well, you know? and really intelligent people in the medical field are the ones who called it a disease. So you don't really get to, like, like one of the things that I take, I'm really understanding about my lack of knowledge in subjects is to trust in people that are experts and specialists in that subject. I'm not into this trend of like smashing, like being anti-science and anti-education and anti-college and anti-everything. That's just a tool that like powers that be used to dumb you down and make you confident in your.
But see, in any case, it does nothing.
It does nothing.
It's a disease. All right. Yeah. Why don't we talk about the cause? Then we can really have.
Well, by acknowledging it as a disease, that is how you attack the cause. You first have to identify. You can't treat cancer without identifying cancer first. So that's the purpose of it being classified as.
What's the cause of cancer?
Right, but you can't. What I mean. Right, but that's why they classify it.
Right, it doesn't even matter if it's a disease. It's not. Doesn't matter. The most consistent thing you can talk about is the cause, because if you keep talking about the result, why is someone fat? You can keep on going and this, well, we could give them a pill. We could do this. Why don't you start talking about the cause of why that person is obese?
Sure.
He's eating too much. He's not exercising. He's depressed at his job and
But
this
it
and
could be thyroid, it could be this, it could be that.
right.
So
But
in
at least you
devil's
find the
advocate,
cause. But
right.
the obesity is not a disease, but it kills people. But if you keep talking about the result of it, well, you're not going to get fucking anywhere.
Sure,
So
sure.
always
So
talk about the cause. Doesn't
right.
matter what. So this is the same thing. Like people keep arguing about the stupidest shit. And I'm like, you guys are not going to fix anything talking about the result. You're trying to remedy the result all the fucking time. Doesn't do shit. You got to talk about the cause of it. Why are people fucking addicted is what you need to be talking about. Not fucking, they're addicted, now what? Like, well, how does that fucking fix anything? It doesn't. So
well, they are in the facilities and in treatment and in therapy. They definitely are. That's just the superficial negative ether of people that don't understand something, just abstractly attacking it and honestly causing more harm than good. Because like what I said
exactly.
is all you're doing is perpetuating what it is you don't understand. And it's real easy to be critical of others when it's not affecting you directly, but your criticism and pushing that and fostering that and creating more of that will eventually touch you. Like I said in that one I released, where it's like sooner or later, they're going to affect somebody you care about, or they're going to end up in a car crash with you or somebody you care about because you wanted to be negative and you wanted to push people further in that hole. It will come back around to touch you. And we all are an extension of one another. And the best of us and the worst of us are still connected. That is us as a whole. The two extremes of who we are as a people equal what we are as human. So if you don't focus on that and understand that you have to give concern to the most afflicted part of you, whether it's your hand, your foot, whatever, that's suffering, you have to pay attention to it. You can't just cut it off.
Well, what's funny, the way you mentioned, like we're a community and we're one, right? That's actually, I mean, there was this one study that talked about addiction. And this is what I mean about like, let's look at the why you got addicted in the first place. What causes addiction? Everyone has this idea that it's the drug itself, but no one can explain gambling, even though this have the same amount of, that want for, they're the same level of addiction to gambling as they are with the drug. So what is the addiction, right? So this guy did research. He had like this, they had rats going on this one, had cocaine in it or whatever. And they would see that this one rat would all of a sudden fucking keep getting the cocaine until it died. But then one doctor said like, wait a minute. Yeah, but rats alone. So what if we did a different environment? He created this like rat park. And then so he freaking had other rats in there and this and that. They still had the cocaine in there and freaking started going on it. But then it just left the cocaine alone. And it started doing that. So it was basically the whole studies was showing that it was really the environment that really kind of shapes you, right? When you're unhappy, that's when you get more addicted. Because the way he said it, it was the opposite of addiction is not sobriety. It's connection. It's bonding. So when you lose the bonding with people, love, and all that stuff, that's when you fall in the realm of addiction, whether it's a needle, gambling, or fucking anything else. So when you start looking at that, and now you know the cause. Now that's where we need to talk. Like everyone needs to be a little more loving. You can't shun an addicted person and go like, dude, if you don't get better, I'm out of here. That doesn't fucking work. It doesn't. So you really have to just love them up like crazy. And it's been shown in different places because now you're putting people in jail that are addicted, right? Oh, they got in trouble. That just made it fucking worse because now they're more disconnected from society. What Portugal has done, because they had a big issue, right? 1% of the whole fucking country was addicted to heroin. So they needed to do something quick. So they started putting a new system in. They tried to help them get back into society, which actually helped. 50% of them recovered. Yeah. So when people start talking
about— Is that where they legalized drugs?
I think so, because it just made sense because they saw the after effects of it. And a lot of people were against it, obviously, which we still are, right? We still have that mindset like, no, you have to be stern. You have to punish them. If you look at addicted people as just bad people, period, instead of suffering, you'll always treat it that way. It's not because they're fucking bad people. They suffered through something and they're going through something. I don't know what the fuck it is. Everyone has different stories. You could have been raped, molested, just fucking a breakup. just something, and you couldn't connect with anyone anymore. So when you can't do that, how the fuck are you going to get better by putting you in jail?
Yeah.
You know?
It actually is. It is Portugal is one of the ones that decriminalizes all drugs from weed to heroin, and there's actually a lot of studies on the effects of where they're at right now. I don't have them all pulled up right now, but that was what they did. They decriminalized it because there was, you know, it was a moot point to just keep incarcerating and incarcerating.
Yeah. And well, because they saw results, right? So then I guess they said like, well, let's decriminalize it. Like,
well, no, I think they just did it to see if there would be results. They just took a big leap.
Went that way first.
Yeah, they just tried it because it was, you know, it's very consuming to just incarcerate everybody at whatever level. So I'm really interested to read up more on that and to find out more about where they're at now with it and all that.
Yeah.
So is that what had affected your family? Was it addiction?
No. Actually, that was just with my brother, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
So all of us pretty much agree. It was kind of our parents. It was just, he dealt with too much pressure. He had the pressure of being the eldest of the crew. He was the man of the family, you know, because my dad wasn't the best. It's one of those typical families where, you know, your dad just wasn't awesome. He just wasn't good at parenting. My mom was affected by him. So there was always constant fighting to the point like you're very aloof from them. But, you know, we became kind of aware of it. But, you know, being the eldest, he just held the most pressure, you know?
Sure.
And but, you know, to us, I guess, at least for me, I know it's affected my brothers and sisters and siblings too. But, you know, I kind of was a little bit more aware that, you know, my dad didn't mean to be like that. Like you've said before, people don't grow up and go, I can't wait to be a fucking addict, man. Like, no one becomes an asshole because they want to be an asshole. They become one through experiences. I don't know what it is, but something.
Generally pain and suffering and an inability to process it.
Yeah.
So, and it manifests in something negative.
Yeah, and when you keep playing this blame game, well, it keeps on going and going and going to the next generation. That's why, you know, they always say like, oh, the addiction is hereditary. No, it fucking is not. It's because that's a fucking dad. And he's treating him like shit, like his dad treated him. So it kind of keeps on going because of that. But at the same time, like, you know, knowing what your dad's about, it's like, well, he didn't just turn like that. His dad turned him into that. Yeah. So the more understanding.
Or something else that happened in his life.
Yeah, because no one becomes like, I can't wait to not take care of my kids.
Right.
Who has ever had that as a goal?
Right.
You know, so it's like, you know. So
well, that was like my mom. My mom was like an emotionally abusive person, but she was super young. She had me as a kid. Like she was a child when she had me, and like her violence and her own issues that she had. Once I learned more about my grandfather, who was an extremely interesting person, but also very violent, very short temper. Very cruel, and very abusive. And so it was easy for me because I only had like off and on experiences with my mom. And like, it was easy for me to quickly put into place. That's what she came from.
Right.
There's no reason in like having all of this compounded hate, processed it. That was what I learned in rehab and stuff like that. Cause I was in for like a 2-year stint, in and out of jails and blah, blah, and in and out of addiction, for years. And when I got sober, part of the thing was making peace with that situation, which is understanding she was a victim too.
Yeah, exactly. It helped.
I had a choice to perpetuate it or to really fully process it and try and end the cycle. And that's one of the things that I'm hyper aware of when I react or when I'm angry or if I'm getting in an argument with somebody or if I think about the idea of having kids, is like that concept that I've got to be hyper aware not to pass that down.
Yeah.
Because like we said with her, like she wasn't like pregnant and going, man, one day I'm going to be a fucking asshole. Like that wasn't it. And so I never held that, you know, against her and
that
shit.
Grudge or they get through this, you know, sense of resentment. At least that's my understanding of my dad, because, you know, we never really got to talk at all. So, but we're only going by what we see and what we've heard and all that stuff. But it was, you know, he was just full of resentment, you know, having kids and all that stuff. And it's almost like he was always kind of in limbo. of the single life and the fucking married life. And he just didn't know how. He just didn't know how. Like, he's never said, I love you. He's not a hugger whatsoever. He's awkward with it. So it's like, oh, you just don't know how at all. Got it.
He's just
bad at
adulting.
Yeah, it's kind of like, when people are still, I don't know why there's still a stigma on pit bulls, but it's not the fucking pit bull, man. It's the parenting of the pit bull. It's the same thing with the kids, except we're more complex. We soak in so much more. When freaking Cesar Millan talks about talking about the energy, and the dog takes that energy and becomes angry. What do you think our kid is fucking soaking in? Mm-hmm. It takes in everything. And that's why all of a sudden we have these habits that your parents didn't even teach you. You just got it because you have this freaking you're able to soak in so much as a kid. Right.
Well, I put that on social responsibility as well. I also think that parenting and not having actual focus on your kid, and maybe more focus on the idea of being a parent or the social perception of you being a good parent, because
that's true. That's true too.
Like, I think that carries over a lot, is that it's generationally been degraded, the ability of parenting. So when people get on, and I don't have kids, to be clear, but
me too.
I'm around people. When parents and adults that have parents are quick to talk about the state of children today and the state of teenagers today and blah, 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 and young adults and millennials and every other thing they want to say. And they talk shit about them. I always want to remind them, they're just students.
Yeah.
You're the teacher.
You're exactly what I say too. I'm like,
don't pass this buck. It's your shitty parenting that's
right. Like when I talk about bullying, you cannot put anything in place that will get rid of bullying. What you have to do is talk to the goddamn parents, because we all know big kids that would have been awesome at bullying. Mm-hmm. Why weren't they? It's always the fucked up ones, because something's happening at home, whatever it is, but it's at home. The kid doesn't just become a bully, just like a dog doesn't just bite everybody unless you're kicking the damn thing. Yeah. So it's like, it all comes from the parenting. And you're right. The family values is slowly disappearing more and more. And it's the parents' fault. When people say I don't know why these kids all get awards. Well, I don't know what parents said it's okay. It ain't the kids that freaking came up with that.
Right. You create the environment. But I also pass that as further than just the individual parent. I am a big believer in that whole, a society builds, breeds, raises children, raises society. Yeah. And that isolation, the what did they say during the Cold War was when they invented the concept of privacy, because people were always afraid of G-men, and there was all this war propaganda from Russian spies and, Japanese spies and all this stuff. Yeah. So all of this was created. Before that, people lived in very close proximity to one another. They met at the town watering hole. They met at they would have they called them hen parties, where all the ladies would get together and, have center congregation, whether it was produce cooking, whether it was where you gathered water, but everybody met together in these town halls and these centers, and they communicated. So throughout history, every environment had a communal effect.
Definitely. That's a big factor. You're right. And I experienced that. I experienced that as a kid, when I was still in the Philippines. And actually, I saw the big difference when I came over here. Over there, all your neighbors were parents. There was no phone where I grew up. You were just gone, and you would just eat at someone's house. Like, hey, would you like dinner? Sure. Just make sure your parents know. I mean, no one's going oh my God, they must be freaking child molesters.
Right.
Because they invited my kid to dinner. Right. Now it's all about it's because you want my kid. They're you're fucked up.
Yeah. And there's a real sickness to that. Yes, there is without a doubt things that happen, but you actually, I believe you create an environment that you fear. The more you treat people like animals, the more you talk about the incarceration issues, the more you treat everybody as if they are predatory, the more they will react accordingly. I can't tell you how many, I'm 42, right? So all of my friends that are in their 30s or 40s talk about how when they were kids, they were able to do this, that, the other. And I'm like, where's your kid? They're locked at home, can't go anywhere. I don't let them out. Right. What are you talking about? You think in the last 20 years, everything changed? No, you just hear more about it because it's sensationalism.
Yeah, I agree.
television and just pumping the narrative, the negative narrative into you.
Yeah.
Like things are going to happen in life. That is true. And you're not going to protect them. Look how many people thought they were keeping their kids safe by keeping them in the church. That didn't work out. So like the idea that, you know, you're going to be able to stop every bad thing from happening and treat everybody as a negative just perpetuates that negativity. And so that's one of the things, man. What is it? Dan Lasac versus Scroobius Pip. One of his lines, he says, he's this awesome rapper, this Hasidic Jewish rapper. He says, or no, I'm sorry, that's Matisyahu. My bad. Sorry, Dan Lasac. But he has a great line where he says, not everybody over the age of 30 who likes children are a pedophile. Some people are just nice.
Yeah. Nah.
And it was so dope because it was like, yeah, man, some people just like fucking dogs and cats and pets and other people. Not everybody's a fucking pervert. Not everybody's out to kill you. And honestly, the ones that are out to kill you, they're going to kill you anyway.
Yeah. And it's like today, right? I mean, I remember it was like a mile or two. We would walk to school. And now
in
it's
the
like
snow, uphill,
every
both ways.
parent drives their kids to school now.
Oh, I know. I know.
It's insane. It's like, it's not because there's more kidnapping in the area.
No, actually, crime across the country in every category is down.
Yeah. Now, if you see a kid walking by himself or herself, you can go to jail.
Yeah, it's insane. Like we all rode bikes to school. We stopped off at a friend's house.
Because like you said, we create this fear. Fear
marketing. Fear marketing is like mongering and marketing is huge business. It sensationalizes things that go wrong. And because, in fact, a huge example of how little actually happens and how good things actually are, of course, there's going to be pockets. There's a neighborhood in Chicago that's fucking horrific. We get it. But all in all, factually, not opinion-based, just look up your Freakonomics statistics or the statistics released, you know, by the FBI and by law enforcement. Everything is down. Lowest crime rate since the 50s. Me and my girlfriend walked around downtown Detroit in this beautifully new renovated area with outdoor beer gardens and parks and swings in the middle of the night. And it was gorgeous and well lit and awesome. Like you can go to East LA, you can go to all these places that are so bad. We wander around Manhattan and Brooklyn and the Bronx all the time. Nothing happens because it's just a different world. Things are so much better. The point is, the fact that the news, with its hyper awareness of anything that goes down, is able to jump on it so dramatically. And they kind of wait every few days. There'll be something, maybe every week or two, every 3 or 4 weeks, there's something major, because that's all they got. So when that happens, they got to go jump on it because there's actually very little going on.
You know, that's their business. They're in the business of freaking as much ratings and
there's nothing wrong with that. But you, as an intelligent human being, you have to be aware that those things happen, will continue to happen at some scale. But if you're not able to gauge the difference between what it was in the 80s or even the 90s when the crime rates actually started to drop, then you're not having a well-rounded discussion.
Yeah.
You're not contributing. You're just buying into whatever you're being told and whatever meme you're being thrown that day.
Right. Exactly. That's true.
So that was your motivation. When that happened with your brother, that was when you picked up and said, hey, I want to do this as the project. And actually, from there, I want to know more about this.
No, that's not what happened at all, actually. So the brand just started off as a college project. And, you know, when you're younger, you know, my motto for the brand is live life without regret and accept challenges worth the risk. How I came up with that, I was analyzing why we said fuck it. But that phrase is actually only why we should say fuck it more. But it started off as just a website or whatever. And when you're younger, I was more concerned about the accept challenges worth the risk. It's about the risks, right? You're young, you don't deal with regrets. You know what I mean? Like, what are your regrets when you're a kid? Nothing. But as you get older, you get more wisdom and you have more regrets and go like, oh man, maybe I should have done this instead of this, man. Now here I am. So I've kind of changed. And actually, good thing I caught it early, because when I was younger, I said, all right, I'm just putting on a website, me partying different campuses and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm not going to be 50 visiting campuses, man. You know, like this is going to be weird. And am I going to be proud of the message that I'm putting out there? And I'm just like, that's not what I'm about. That's not at all. So I wasn't really being true to myself, you know? So I decided like, all right, why do we say fuck it? And then it came up with that phrase. And then it just eventually became a clothing line because clothing is very empowering. Once you wear something, you kind of signify with it. Kind of like when kids wear Jordans, they think they can jump higher. Or when you were a kid, you put a freaking towel on your neck with a clip, all of a sudden you're Superman. Like, it's just more empowering, you know? So it actually worked more when I tried to inspire people and motivate them. It made more sense. So that's how it kind of came about. As far as my brother goes, I never wanted to affiliate with suicide prevention because I see so many companies like just trying to get on the, hey, we donate this much and we're huge supporters of this. And it's like, I think you're just trying to get more sales, man. So I never talked about it. In the beginning, nothing. A lot of my friends didn't even know. They were like, dude, I didn't know his brother committed suicide. I'm like, oh, I didn't really need to tell you. Like, why do you need to know? It was years ago. But in any case, I thought it was just kind of, trying to make a buck out of the situation. But as I was doing my events and talking, when you're talking about inspirational stuff, motivational stuff, that subject comes up. Like, yeah, had someone, commit suicide. And as I talked about my brother and my experience and this and how I kind of like, yeah, this is what you have to do, blah, blah, blah. I saw that it helped them. And then I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm glad he got helped up, but it happened more often. And I'm like, so it helps when I talk about him? Like, all right, well, you know what? Let me start bringing it up. So then I started bringing it up. And then more and more, I'm like, shit, this is actually more of a suicide prevention brand than anything else. That's what I could really tie with, because to me, this is my philosophy with it. This is complaining, and this is suicide. A lot of the organizations are saying, call me when you're right here. That's fucking, my brother was never gonna call. You're late, dude, because he already made up his fucking mind. So to me, I'm like, what if I can get you from complaining? Oh, I didn't get you there. All right, you're in a little bit of depression. Oh, shit, you're an alcoholic now. Ah, fuck, you're already addicted to drugs. Damn it, let me catch you here at least. But I'm not gonna wait and then go, So that's actually why we're starting that nonprofit.
Tell me about that.
So the philosophy behind that, it's gonna be called Start Day One. The philosophy basically is like to help people, to inspire people to, to stop dreaming of one day and start working on day one. You know how you said before, it's just one step at a time, man. Like, people are not overwhelmed.
Take a moment. Yeah.
Because people get overwhelmed. Like, how do I change that from fucking addiction to sober and happy as fuck? Like, dude,
right.
That's not like, you can't do that in one day.
That's not how it works.
Yeah.
You didn't get to where you're at in one step.
Yeah. So people get overwhelmed, not because there's so much changes to make or do. It's because they don't know where to fucking start. Mm-hmm. So to me, if I do a more proactive approach and going to high schools, going to rehab centers and basically discussing what you and I are discussing and in person, because you even know, I mean, this is one of the benefits of this podcast right now, right? Is the hope that when someone watches this, it fucking helps them and
right.
Bitch slaps them a little bit and goes like, yo, dude, my boy over here was a fucking addict. Listen to his ass and let's see what's up. So that's your kind of credibility of that. Hey, I lost my brother and this is what I got out of it. And this is how I think that you can stop it. Either way, it's a fucking decision you have to make. Right. If you believe in yourself that it's never going to happen, well, you're fucking up already. You're fucking up. I talked to this one guy actually just this past weekend. I was talking about the addiction and stuff like that. Or eventually he kind of, we had a debate about, yeah, but it's different when, the drugs and this. And I'm like, no, it isn't. It's still a decision. Like, what do you mean?
Right.
Yeah, but when you're in drugs, it's kind of this and that. And I'm like, yeah, but it's still a decision. And I'm like, I think the reason we're not here, you're talking about the result of the addiction. Like, so we're not getting anywhere because I'm telling you the way to stop the result of it. I'm telling you, for you that to happen, you have to decide first before anything happens, because you're telling me it's impossible. But people have done it, but you're telling me it's impossible. The minute you say that to yourself, and that's why I hate when people say this mental illness, you can't do anything about it until you take drugs, pisses me off. Because you're telling the people they have no choice. The second you tell them you have no choice, they believe it, and it actually happens. Some people just kind of, there's this lady that talks about mind over medicine. Studies have shown, like, when people got cancer and said, like, you have 6 months to live, they fucking died in 6 months. They have 3 months. They died in 3 months. Like, come on, no doctor's that fucking good, you know? But because they believe in it. But then there's this thing. The reason she started this mind over medicine thing is she saw people that were curing cancer, placebo effect style, like no drug, no nothing, just by simply thinking. And it's fact, there was this one thing that they mentioned. You know how everyone has this thing about stress, that it's negative for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, she had these 2 individuals, right? Just to show like the physiology, how it changes just by mindset. There's a set that says stress is bad. And then there's a set that said stress isn't bad. It's just the fight or flight. It gets you prepared for what you're about to go against.
Right.
Like, okay. So the stressed out people that think it's negative, the reason it's negative for the heart is because your vein or your system kind of constrict. So the blood is now flowing through as well. So your heart, you get a heart attack and all whatever stuff. The group that didn't believe that stress was bad for you, studies actually showed that their freaking things just stayed open. It just stayed open. It didn't constrict and like panicked or whatever, because they saw it as like, oh, I need the blood because I need freaking hemoglobins to act and get the air into my brain so I can fucking fight whatever I got to fight right now. And it's just by mindset, no drugs. So when people go to me and say this like, yeah, but there's a chemical imbalance, dude, what do you think you do when you smile? The chemical imbalances is just a favorable one. And then when you're depressed as fuck and you think of all the death in the world, you create these chemical imbalance for the negative route. So it's like, dude, you're just doing an artificial way of changing your chemical imbalance. You know what I mean? So you have to really build that, or else it's never going to fucking work, because all you're doing is numbing the pain. You're not fixing it. You have to face whatever that is.
Well, coming from where I come from and having gone to long-term treatment, and I watched people in the medicine lines, and I never took any meds while I was in rehab, because I felt that if I was going to find out I was crazy, I just wanted to know, because I felt I was obviously crazy. Being an addict, you're gambling with death every day. You're doing all of this nutty shit. You're sort of suicidal even if you don't know it. But I did not want to take the meds because I wanted to know, because I knew I was self-medicating, but I wanted to see if that was the case or not. Yeah. But I do not, and I have to be clear for everybody listening. Yeah. I do not believe you can fix everything with placebo. I just don't. It's not. No, I don't think true. What I'm saying is, the minute you think you have no choice, you have no choice. No, I understand. But it's scientifically proven that there are things of chemical imbalance that do need artificially. I got friends that were like so ADD that they could not function. She could not get up and go through her day. And then she would take her prescription and she was 100% normal and could work as a very sophisticated account and inventory manager at our company. So like, I'm not saying the drugs don't work. Right. That's not the point of that. The point is it's artificial no matter what it is. But when you believe in depression, like, it's like, all right, let's say you're obese. You can take this drug and it'll burn fat. It does. I'm not saying it does it, but is that the best way? That's a little bit different than no, but chemical imbalances in the brain. Artificial, it's hard to get rid of depression when you're relying on a fucking pill. Right, but we weren't talking about. I mean, if your serotonin levels and dopamine levels are ineffective and they're not producing, right? There are medicines that can help stabilize that. I know, and that's what I'm saying. But it should be for temporary use, not because. Well, it's whatever a doctor. Not dependency. And right. People become dependent and become addicted to those drugs because, like, without this. My mom was a professional pill taker. I know, like she had, 10 prescriptions for quote unquote problems and then 20 more prescriptions to counter the effect of those. Yeah. There is abuse, but I think it's very important not to pitch it out there. I mean, Steve Jobs died from not taking any cancer medicine and just drank juice all the time. Because he was a juicitarian, whatever the fuck it is. And he just drank juice, which is sugar, which feeds cancer. Right. Killed him. And he admitted, kind of getting closer to the end, that I probably should have just taken some fucking medicine. Like so it's an ebb and flow, right? I do agree that we are overprescribed. We're over medicated. If a kid is excited, you shouldn't fucking give him drugs. He's just excited. Give him a creative outlet. But I am through living longer and experiencing more people, I also understand that there are people that need medication and need therapy. And yeah, I would like them to be temporary as well, but I'm not a doctor, so I can't say that. I can't tell you a timeline that something is effective. I know diabetics kind of have to keep taking insulin. Some of them can lose, can beat diabetes through weight loss, but some can't. So there's a case by case, right? And I think that it's important I think positive mental attitude is massive. I think most of life and most afflictions can be positively affected by a positive outlook and by positive reinforcement. Placebo is definitely a real thing. Eastern medicine has a huge collection of placebo effects that are very functional. I'm aware of that as well. But I always try and balance out this conversation with never pretending to be able to prescribe what's going to work for somebody. Because the last thing I would want to do are these Christian fanatics that don't give medicine to their children and they die because they believe they could pray.
I'm talking more about the mindset. I think that's where we're off here.
I'm not thinking we're off. I'm making it clear making it clear for anybody listening that I'm not condoning one or the other. I think that you need to trust science and you need to trust doctors, even though you have to research your doctors because so many of them are prescription writers and that's all they are. And they're just glorified drug dealers worrying about their next Mercedes. But on the flip side of that, there's a lot of them who are amazing, kind, compassionate, wonderful, intelligent people.
Right. Yeah. Oh, totally agree. And it's just I just don't like the idea. When I was talking to that one kid, I mean, you're arguing me that you can't. And it's just so it's impossible?
Well, that's that quote I got that I always repeat from the book Illusions is argue for your limitations and sure enough they're yours. Which means that whatever you manifest, whatever you believe is what it is. And for that guy you were talking to, you can't reach him because he believes that he's had an impact.
I'm glad I actually got to.
No, it's great because you planted a seed.
You're right. And I'm but it was really tough, but no one talks to him like that. Oh man, so sorry. You should really get into this.
Oh, you'd be surprised how people
slap him a little bit yo, dude, stop being an asshole. What do you mean it's that? No, it isn't. You have to fucking decide. You have to fucking decide and stop arguing with me about no, you don't. Dude, just decide.
Well, but it's more complicated than that with addiction.
That's where we go.
They have to hit that bottom.
It's hard to be a millionaire. It's hard to lose weight. How the fuck are you going to lose weight then? Decide first. There's no way you're not going to. A 500-pound person, it's so freaking hard to just lose 50 pounds. Mm-hmm. So I get it. But what I'm telling you is you need to decide to get the fuck out of that bed or else nothing's going to happen. But it's so hard. I get that it's hard.
Yeah, you're arguing for your limitations.
And that's the point. The second you keep arguing me about that is I'm proving my point, so.
Right, but that person can have years and years and years of compounded negative influence that reaffirms that. So you can't get uptight with them or irritated with them.
Not uptight.
You got to understand it. You can have tough love, 100%, but you also then have to realize that while you are a motivated, physically fit,
No, but all I'm talking about is the decision. I'm not talking about run tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about until you make that decision, nothing's going to happen.
And then, but then once you make the decision, because I decided I wanted to get clean, and 2 years later I was sober, 2 years of more addiction, because I can say I want to rebuild a transmission, but I still have a long time to learn the tools and to make more mistakes before I figure out how to functionally work on that thing.
Which I totally understand.
Start from a point.
I totally get it. When someone's losing weight, it's the same exact shit.
Sure.
They fall off and all of a sudden they're eating cupcakes and then they got to go back on it. That's human nature shit.
Sure.
That happens all the time. All of a sudden you broke up with a girl, so you went back into fucking drugs again, or someone died and you went back in, or you didn't succeed, so you went back in. There's always going to be fucking something, but don't crutch on the fucking thing.
Right.
But that's what the people have to be aware of. Until you decide, you're not going to do shit.
Exactly.
So everything's
That's
an
the argue. Yeah.
excuse until a decision is made. So
100%.
right? So it's most like, I have to get you to that point of decision making. That's what the start day one is about, because it's like, dude, I just need you to fucking start day one. I don't need you to fucking
No,
be
you
sober
don't need them
tomorrow.
to do anything. You want them to, and you're frustrated that they're not. The one thing I can tell you is when I got the day I knew I wanted to be, the last day I did drugs, I was on I-4 and I got arrested right after copping. My girl was driving the car and I had just used, right? We're at a stoplight in front of Wet and Wild. And the cops came up from a minivan around the car and they put guns in the windows and were like tapping on the glass with guns, like pointed dead at us. And I had the last of my dope and I was like, fuck it. And so I just did the rest of it right there. And then I got out of the car, right? And I was like, well, fuck it. I'm going down anyway.
Right.
But
Is there a problem, officer?
so I was like, I'm just going to do this because they didn't have any possession on me at that time.
Right, right.
So when I got out of the car, I sat with this cop in the car for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
That fucking guy talked to me just straight up. He was like, yo, man, I'm out here every day. I see this. I see these people. I see kids like you every day. And I know where this ends up. And I just want you to like, I see something in you. This doesn't have to be your path. And he just talked to me, man, for 45 minutes. And what was crazy was during that conversation, everybody that had ever told me anything constructive came flooding in. So it was like my reality of everybody is my enemy and everything is against me and I'm my own enemy and I don't see anything else. All came like full circle to all of these experiences, all these people through my life who tried to reach out to me. So what you're doing, even though you might not actually break through to them, don't worry about it because it's a seed planted. And you got to keep putting that out there because eventually, hopefully, if it doesn't just take their life first, is a collection that one day you can pull back on and that you can fucking resource.
Yeah, one of the things that I recommend to people, like I get what you're saying, it's just like the way we're talking right now, I guess this shows the frustration. But one of the things that I tell people,
you're super tense.
Fuck
it, man. Just fuck it, bro.
No, it's like like that frustration, like, oh man, like. Yeah. Because it's rough when they keep talking about something else. Yeah, but I just want you to decide. Yeah, but blah, 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 blah. No, but I just need you to decide. Yeah, but blah, blah. Like, all right, so more excuses. I don't know what to tell you. But anyway, one of the things I've told people that we're doing wrong is the motivation, is the inspiration. It's actually a negative effect, like you were saying. So the reason I came up with this, right? One day, I was complaining like a motherfucker to my wife. I mean, man, I was just hating shit left and right. And all of a sudden she told me like, hey, dude, you'll be all right, blah, blah, blah. You got this. You know, the typical motivation, like you'll be all right. Well, it went in fucking reverse, dude. All of a sudden I was feeling so good, letting it all out. Cool. And then she said that, boom, I was angry again. And I go, why didn't that work? Only because of this brand. I was aware of my feelings and emotions. But I was like, that should have worked. She was trying to motivate me. She didn't mean anything bad. But why did I go in reverse? So when I told her, I go, hey, babe, next time I'm in that like mindset, just don't say anything. Like, just hug me up and just hug me up. Because I was actually feeling better. And the second you said something, it actually went in reverse. And you know what it is? When someone tries to inspire and motivate you just like that afterwards, like right afterwards, when you're feeling like shit, it feels like no one's listening. It feels like you know, the biggest self-defense mechanism that people have when they're really fucked up is you don't understand because you can't answer that. You don't get it. All right, fucking don't. I wasn't a drug addict. But the thing is, I don't fucking have to. I'm in this boat. You need to understand me. So it's kind of like, but you can't force that on someone. It has to come out from them. And one of the things I tell people, if anyone's ever depressed and complaining, don't fucking motivate them. Don't fucking do it. They'll run away because you become annoying. It's what happens. Someone motivates you, like, yeah, I know. I know. Let's go out. I get it. Like, I get it. They become annoying. So what you should really do is just listen to them, and agree with them. Like, from your perspective, you got to say perspective because you can't really agree with them, you know? From your perspective, I get it. Your life fucking sucks, dude. Like, yeah, I get it. That sucks. But you have to ask the question, well, now what? When you say now what, their mind goes from why me? Why is this happening? World sucks to like, well, I guess I gotta fucking do this. But it's coming from them. When you tell someone what to do, it doesn't fucking work. But when you get it out from, just like the cop didn't tell you what to do, you just kind of got all the things and you're like, whew. It just came from you to do it. Like people going to the gym. No one likes to be told, you're fat, you should need to go to the gym, dude. But there's that spark one day, they just, I don't know, from somewhere. That's why I love the clothing, because it's very indirect. You never know when you're going to need that inspiration. And all of a sudden you go, what am I doing? And what am I complaining for? Why am I not at the gym right now? You know, but when someone tells you to do it, it doesn't work. But by asking now what, they get into a solution mindset and actually comes from them. And that is actually more effective than going cheerleader style. Like, yo, dude, Chris, you're awesome. What do you mean, dude? Like you're ready to rule the world and this, and you're going to go, I know. Fuck, you don't get it. Right? All the time. So I know when I get into that state of mind, it's like the motivation actually doesn't help me. And this is my fucking brand.
Well, I think that was because I agree and disagree with things, which is great that we're still allowed to do that for a little while. Hopefully for longer than a little while.
Yeah.
But I think that the part of the reason it's important to speak to so many people is what works for your experience does not work for other people's experience. So some people, while you feel that encouragement doesn't help you, it sounds to me like you got your own shit to work through a little bit, like why you're triggered so quick on that subject. And we're all a work in progress. I try and do within every couple of years, I try and do a complete moral inventory. That was one of the things I did pick up from the AA and NA process was that you have to go back in and reevaluate what you are, what your motivations are, who you are today. Because who you are today is not who you are yesterday. It's not going to be who you are tomorrow. And you need to take that moral inventory, because I found after I'd been sober for a number of years and I had a business and I had this and I had that, I found myself making an entirely new set of personal mistakes and emotional mistakes and interactive mistakes that I never knew about because I had always been something else. So when I became this brand new person, I had a whole new series of mistakes to make and I had no point of reference for them. So I think it's really important, like how we talk about those people that succeed and then can kill themselves or fall into despair or fall into addiction. It's because they were nothing or they were here and then they reached these goals and they never set anything past those goals. So once they attained them and then life had problems, they didn't know how to process that. They were like, wait a minute, I thought life was supposed to be good now. Like when it comes to being sober and all of that, I tell everybody who's on the path to sobriety or to bettering themselves, I was like, nobody is promising you a perfect life. Nobody is promising you an easy life or promising you a life, because you don't have one right now. You don't have one in addiction. You live for something else. You don't have your own life, your own existence. You are living for that product, for that obsession, for that addiction, whether it's sex, drugs, money, violence, whatever it is. If you're living solely for that other thing, you're not living your own life. So I like you. I love your perspective. You know, I love talking to you. I've always been encouraged by you and motivated by you. To anybody that's out there, like listening to the different things that work, not everything works for everybody. Not every path works for everybody. Not every method works for everybody. So some people respond really well to loving concern, like a dog on the street that's been beat his whole life. They respond really well to affection and to compassion. And they rehab like that. But other people, hard-headed motherfuckers, they don't come from that. They have a different life experience. You can't reach them with compassion because they manipulate compassion. They manipulate people for sympathy. They manipulate people for that, and that is their addiction. So like in that case, it does take a harder approach, and it does take, you know, this, that, and the other. There's did you ever read the Celestine Prophecy? You should read it. It's a good book. Everybody listening should read that book. It talks about how when you're, you know, they talk about now, like your entire mentality on how you interact with the outside world is established by age 5 or 6. Like you're done. You figure out how to acquire your energy. And I'm probably misquoting this, but there's 3 basic types of ways that human beings acquire energy from others. One, it's by crying, and they get affection from that. So that's the type of person who's looking for the sympathy vote.
Yeah.
There's aggression, which they are aggressive to something or somebody else, and people respond to that aggression. So you get a bully mentality. And then you get the performer. And that's how you get a lot of like actors and comedians and theatrical type, is they entertained their family. What is it? One of the Eddie Murphy specials. It was Raw or Delirious, where he's telling the little fucked up jokes. Yeah. And like the one uncle is like, everybody else in the room was like, what the fuck did he just say? But he'd always been a showboat. He'd always been a performer. So those are three of the ways that when you watch people interact in life, you can kind of pin it down to whether they're an entertainer, whether they're an aggressor, or whether they're get their energy through sympathy. Yeah. And so knowing that there's multiple facets, multiple people, and then from each one of those categories, it also splits up into much more complicated things. Life is always much more complicated than three categories, but you can get a general sense, and knowing who you're engaging, knowing how to reach that person, and more importantly, knowing like, okay, that person is outside of my realm of reach, but I know so-and-so who reaches out to them in another way. So in the circle of people I know that are counselors or that are therapists or that are just gurus of their own accord, right? That like to reach out and connect to people. I can be like, yo, I know how I can reach certain people, but that person might be better talking to A or B or C.
Yeah. No, definitely. I get it. But it's like, but something that's consistent is very just, to me, when you motivate too early, people close down, man. It's
some
like,
people.
A lot, actually. I mean, I've talked to different addicts and stuff. I get it. But I'm not saying don't motivate them ever. But what I'm saying is not right away. The typical response is, you didn't listen to anything I said at all. Whether it's aggressive, whether it's the crying, whether it's anything. When you do that too quickly, it just doesn't affect them because they already put a wall out.
Well, with addiction, the first thing is not you, it's them. Like they need to surrender their struggle. They have to make peace with they've reached their limit.
Yeah, but we have to go back also to what we talked about earlier, the cause of it, right?
Yeah, self-evaluation comes a little bit after.
They couldn't bond. It's the whole, they can't bond with society or anyone or anything. So that's really the main concern. Like, how do we get you back to that? Right. So, like I always say, that you got to go back to the cause, man. Like, why is it? Because you can put all different freaking ways of dealing with someone, the result. Like, dude, how did he get here, man? What's the cause?
I feel you. Go into a little bit more on that, onto your nonprofit.
Yeah.
So what is the next steps with that? Where is that going?
So right now we're filing the application and all that stuff. We just got some 3, valuable board of directors, members of that. So we're at that point now, and we're just really getting on a roll. And hopefully within 3 months, it takes a while. So you're like writing a book to them, right?
Yeah.
And basically the goal with that is like just trying to get upfront and personal, trying to get talks like what we're doing. I'd actually love to, if when I can, like have you, fly somewhere or whatever to talk to kids, because you definitely have.
Yeah, I'm about it.
You have it. The way you can talk to them. I would love to be able to have that. And actually, I'd like to set up, the more people like us that we can get out there, I think is more productive than waiting for some kid to call you. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, they're not going to call me. I don't even have my phone number listed.
No, it's not going to happen. So, but this is another form, whether it's media, because we're in the hopes, like, sometimes these are more effective when it's indirect.
But what groups are you going to, who are you going to target? How are you going to target? Are you looking for youth centers? Are you looking for high schools? Are you looking for
just like my brand? Centers? Everyone needs a sense of inspiration, right?
Sure.
So it's not necessarily just drug addicts. It's not just, you don't know who's going through anything. I do these events. You don't expect freaking people to be suicidal. All of a sudden they tell me like, Yeah, I just attempted last month. And
No,
they're,
I feel you. I feel you. What I'm saying is, where are you going to go for your source of contact with people? Like, you have to start somewhere, right? So where are you going to speak? Where are you going to?
well, it's gonna, because at events, I'm always getting asked. And if I
You're
make it,
talking about at the trade shows and at
yeah.
tattoo
So if
expos.
I make it obvious that this is like, hey, we actually offer this, and they always say like, oh my God, there is another suicide at high school. It would be great if you could speak there. And I'm like, I would love to, but it's expensive.
So you're
Like,
looking to go to work at high schools as
yeah,
well, troubled youth centers.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yep, rehab centers, just basically just very, very proactive, And
Yeah.
if you maintain something, like I'm thinking like, how people are trying to be life coaches and stuff. And I think that's actually a valuable thing to do for the
Yeah,
younger
super good. I got
generation.
some
Guide them.
really good friends. One of my first podcasts was with Josh Ford, who's a life coach, and
Oh,
um,
wow.
he's exceptional. He's an exceptional
Yeah.
individual.
So having those kinds of people on the team and to actually talk out there
Yeah.
and different venues or whatever, man.
Yeah.
To me, it's really all about the proactive. Like, get them first,
Yeah.
get them as soon as possible, just to change their perspective while they're young.
Yeah.
Just letting them realize, like, dude, I'm telling you, man, all these bullies, sometimes they turn out fucking dorks.
Yeah. Most bullies end up as pieces of shit.
Yeah, like
Or
almost
oppressors.
always. But it's like, you got to remember, like, those bullies are going through some shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a sickness within them. There's always
Right. But if the ones getting bullied can kind of understand that, it helps them.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It just helps. So the change of perspective, like, oh, they have it worse than I do.
Mm-hmm.
It helps them. So if I can tweak just 1, 2, 3, whatever, it'll just help. No matter
Yeah.
what, someone will get help. So, but proactive is better,
I agree.
rather than
Well,
reactive.
you know me, man. I'm down for it. I like to run my
Yeah.
mouth all
Oh,
the time and
that'd be
talk and
awesome.
blah 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 blah. And I'm actually trying to figure out more to do here in Philly, where I live now,
Yeah.
because there is an opioid epidemic
Yeah.
nationwide, as we all know. And Philly, the area I'm in Fishtown, used to be like pretty hardcore ghetto, like old Irish ghetto kind of thing. And moving a little bit north of there in Kensington and stuff like that, it's still really fucking rough. There's like a tent city, not like LA's, but there is one. And like, you walk down the road out in front of these churches and schools, and there's just piles of, needle caps and stuff like that. Sorry, Philly, hate to call you out like that, but you have some pockets that are still pretty rough. Philly's blowing the fuck up. Fishtown's like super sick right now. Forbes just rated it one of the hottest cities in the country. So it's really cool stuff. But if you're going to live in that environment and you're going to participate in your community and enjoy the good of it, you got to be aware of the bad of it. And you got to like work on that. You got to try and influence in some kind of way, because everything that I do, I said this in the last little rant, everything I do positive today is counteractive to what I did that was negative. And I'm an enthusiastic person. And when I was encouraging people to be negative and to do negative shit, I was good at it because I was doing it. I was supportive of it. I participated in it, and I can be just as influential in a negative as I can a positive.
Right.
And I think that that's really important. One of the problems that I have with some people that you own nothing to the world. You owe nothing to everybody. You don't have to go dedicate your life to service. That's not a thing. You can go live your life. You are your own space, and you can go do that. But for me, I feel like, because I love the environments I live in, I always love everywhere I live, right? That if I can contribute to it being a little bit better, whether it's through a conversation like this, whether it's supporting a product like what you're doing and like the mission statement you're trying to do, or participating in my community at any level, I'm for it. So I just got done reading Dharma Punks, which was really cool, and was interesting to see the perspective of a punk rocker / junkie / criminal that went on this crazy pilgrimage of life, and now is a motivational speaker and a Buddhist and a yoga instructor and like all this crazy ass shit. I don't know if he's actually a yoga instructor, but I know he does all this other shit in the spiritual world. Went out and met the Dalai Lama and, toured through Asia and just had these amazing adventures. And having come from that, he's popping off names of tattoo artists in LA that I know. It's crazy. So it's so connected. And to seeing people that, are connected to the world that I exist in, reaching out across the span. I mean, a punk rock crackhead meeting the Dalai Lama just a couple years later, and now is this super high level educator in spirituality and meditation and presence and all of that. Is just awesome.
That's true.
You know, everybody's path doesn't have to, you know, mirror one another's, and your approaches don't have to mirror one another's. But for me personally, like the conversation you're having, even though you come from it at a different angle than I do, that's great, because we're going to reach different people. And as long as you're contributing something, the reward for that is huge.
It's not a negative impact either way, right?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking shit and I'm actually right. But all in all, man, you know, at the end of the day, I like what you do. I like the brand. I like the message. I definitely, the first time I read it, I took it in a different way. And I kind of just thought it was fun. I was like, fuck it. You know, I just thought it was clever. But knowing that your history behind it and your motivation behind it, obviously, like, here we go, another shot of it. You're at all of the expos I go to, and your attitude in person is always upbeat. It's always infectious. You're always just like on this, like,
thanks, man.
Physically fit. You take care of your shit. You do what you do. You look like you're having fun in your life. And I'm down with that. Like, I think it's good, and I appreciate knowing you, man.
Thank you so much, dude. No, definitely, it's been awesome. It's been like, I think I've known you for like 7 years now.
Something like that. Something crazy. We're just out there kicking rocks, but you know, I like to see where you're going with it from now.
Thanks, man.
I'm a big believer in you do something to then do the next thing to do the next thing. I'm not a big fan of complacency. I'm not a big fan of like falling into a life rut that, if I sell like shirts today, that means I have to sell shirts in 50 years.
That's why I always recommend people, like, you need a sense of purpose, because it's never ending.
Well, the goal thing, I told you that one of the worst things you can do as becoming a goal-oriented person is have no further goals.
Because once you reach that goal, all right, I was supposed to be happy. And that's why a purpose is never ending. Just
and you have to reinvent that shit. Stop thinking that what you thought of your life at 18 is what you have to think of your life at 20 and 25 and 30 and 40 and 50. Grow up. Like, you do different shit. Like, stop pigeonholing yourself into like, I'm going to be an anarchist and fucking like.
One of the things I try to do to kind of communicate with kids, because a lot of them play video games, right? And just psychologically, I'm always about the supply and demand of things. But anyway, when people play video games, they don't really notice this. But I always ask the kids, when the game is easy, do you like playing it? Like, do you like it? If you win all the time, they're like, no, sucks. I'm like, there's no challenge, right? It's nothing at all. You actually, when the game is easy, they do stupid shit. Oh, let me run this car off this cliff. Let's see what happens. Oh, let me shoot that bird in the sky. You start doing stupid shit. So I kind of equate that to, like, you know, the reality, right? That's what they end up doing when they're like not challenged, not anything. And I tell them, like, the games that are, you know, almost every game that you have that you like, let me guess, the level of difficulty increases, right?
Sure.
Yeah. And then I remember talking like 2 weeks ago at a different expo, this one kid was feeling all lost. I'm like, what game have you played where you knew exactly where to go, exactly what to do, and won the whole fucking thing in one shot? That's not interesting at all. All the challenges that are set in front of you is actually what makes your life more interesting. Like, look at you, for example. Your life is super interesting, right? Because you went through the struggle. If you've been just a good kid and became a good kid, and you've been rich and now you're just rich, like, just like any other person would be unhappy, because like you said, there's no self-actualization. And what I tell them after that, I'm like, have you seen any great movie at all with zero conflict, zero struggle? It's not a fucking movie, dude. Not even interesting to watch. Same thing with football. When you know exactly who's going to win, is there a crowd at the bars? But a Super Bowl, the hardest fucking game they're ever going to play, and you have no idea who's going to win, everyone watches that. But it's funny, but when we do it with our own lives, and that's why this whole change of perspective, right? When you put it in their perspective, like, yo, this is actually what makes your life meaningful. That's what they mean about, like, what's the meaning of life? You know, like, no, just look at what life makes life meaningful, man. When you go through the struggle, like when someone passes away on you and you cry and shit and you get sad, well, you're supposed to, because you cared about the person. People die every fucking day, but I'm pretty sure you're not sad out at every death that happens. But when it's someone you care about, well, it's someone you cared about. You're going to miss the person. You bonded with that person. Yeah, you're going to cry. And guess what? If you didn't, that'd be weird. That means you never had it. He was never your friend to begin with. Right. So you have to take that into account. Like, that's what makes your life more interesting, more challenging, more better, just better, period. So when I can put that on the kids, they kind of understand a little bit and they go like, oh, so I'm just going through some shit, but my life is going to be awesome. Like, yeah, dude. So
I like it, man. I don't know if it speaks well of me that my favorite game is still Mario Kart after all, because I can just start and play and like shoot turtles.
Yeah, but you didn't win the first round.
Yeah, I'm pretty simple when it comes to the gaming stuff, but so that might speak to my simplicity, which I'm all right with.
That's great.
But man, I really appreciate it. Anything you got coming up, man, anything that I can participate in, or if you ever do get that thing into fruition where people are talking at events, whether it's like this, where I speak in front of a group via remote, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Or if you ever do anything in the Philly area, or, when we're traveling around and going to be at the same shows and stuff, if you set something like that up the day prior to a show,
that'd be sick.
After a show, make that happen, man. Like, I'm super.
Maybe I could do that. That makes sense. That makes sense because we're already there.
You're already there. You just hit up the establishments ahead of time, and we can fucking get in there and do that, man.
Right.
I got a lot of other people
I
try and talk to that are on that same ticket. So I think, and like one of the things that comes from this side of the industry to anybody watching that's tattooed, heavily tattooed, modified, or in the business, or extreme sports, or rock and roll, whatever the fuck you do.
Yeah.
You make a huge impact on people that you go talk to. I've spoken at like troubled youth centers. I've spoken at rehabs. I've spoken at AA meetings and stuff like that. And when you stand there and look like you do, it matters. Because when I was in rehab, like, I loved all the people that had all the information, that were educators, that knew all of that shit. And, you said, you made a point earlier where you said like, oh, I get it, I wasn't an addict. You gotta appreciate that that's actually a real thing. While I respected the people that were telling me the information they learned, and they were right, and I took it to heart and I learned a lot from them, nothing made the same impact as somebody who looked like me, that went through what I went through, that had been at the other end of addiction, and was now doing better, and chose to selflessly come speak to me. Because I was like, holy shit, that person isn't paid to do this. Like, damn, they're just coming to do it. There's a lot to that. Now, having taken all of that raw knowledge, the educators help me process it. So it's a symbiotic thing.
Oh, definitely. Because like, I was talking to this one person at the Wildwood convention. He has this thing. He started the something 7. What do you call it? The soldiers that got killed, this Osama bin Laden crew. So anyway, one of them's his kid. So he started like a thing on there. So we were talking about that, and like the biggest defense that like I said before, it's not meant to shun you, but it's like just a self-defense mechanism. The whole you don't understand. That's why it's hard when you're saying like, well, you didn't go through. When someone go through, you don't have to go through that you don't understand. So you're clear. You're like, you get take off right away. So that's your advantage. Totally. I get it. But when people have that idea that because you don't understand means I can't talk to you anymore, they have to reverse the mindset that, no, you're the ones that need help. You have to try and understand this realm, not, and you know what I'm saying? Like, because like, for example, that one guy, he says, when we were talking, he goes, yeah, I agree. It's like, and he goes like this. Let's say this guy went to you and said, have you lost your son? What do you say? Oh, you're right. I can't help you now then. I've never lost a son ever before. What do you do then? That's my point. You can't just go like, dude, just because I didn't go through what you did means I'm fucked up now. And because I can't understand you, like you're making it like,
it doesn't mean that, but being,
but you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's a self-defense mechanism.
Certain people can connect is all that matters. When you're trying to reach through to somebody, your view and my view are a little bit irrelevant to them being reached.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean. It's their perspective that matters. It's not, why do you care what my perspective is then? That's my point. Because
I feel you.
It said that means you can't help anyone that didn't experience, hey, this girl got raped. What do you say to that one? They're depressed as fuck. They're addicted. They got raped. You've never been raped.
I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
It's just it's a multifaceted thing, and
Well,
at
that's
the
what
end
I
of the
mean.
day,
It
at
all
the end of
hangs
the
with the
day, it's just
person.
important that somebody can reach them. So by all means, everybody out there, keep reaching out to people, keep trying to talk to people, being
Yeah.
oblivious to them or just not giving a shit about it, and
Yeah.
trying to have this like I don't care attitude will
Yeah.
not benefit anything in the long run. So that's what it comes down to, man. Everybody just keep trying to do better. Whatever you affect in the people around you and the environment around you eventually actually benefits you as well. So
Yeah.
just keep it up, keep talking, and then you hit me up. Let's get off when we get off of here. You know, we'll set up a schedule on the shows that we're both attending, and we'll see what we can put together, and maybe we can make this happen this year.
Yeah, why not? All right, sounds
brother.
good, man. Hey, thank you so much for everything.
Absolutely. Give a shout out to your pages. Give a shout out to your pages.
Yo, you can go to facebook.com/FUKITT and Instagram, Fukitt Clothing, FUKITT Clothing. And we'll see you all there. And eventually I'll be working with Chris, I hope, with Start Day One.
Absolutely, man. Great talking to you, brother.
All right, man. Later. You.